All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It's been a while. It's been a week since we've had our last Zoom. A lot has happened in the past week, but excited to be back with you and back on track. So we normally get together daily, weekdays, Mondays through Fridays for our daily Zoom. My screen should be shared with you. The 509pacific.org website should be in the background. And then we have our notes here on the screen. So, as a 501c3 nonprofit, we've received a grant, and there are three, they call them mandates, but you could say goals or priorities. So, the three things that we're supposed to do under that grant is number one, increase financial literacy. Now, that's not general that, saving money is good and basic elements like that. It's more surrounding business financial literacy. A lot of people, they don't know what you and I know, that there are strategies, techniques, processes to follow. And ultimately, if the goal is to get money to start or grow a business, we must qualify. We can't just want it to happen. We can't just wish it to happen. We need to qualify. Now, different sources of capital have different underwriting criteria. So, our morning Zooms contribute to the financial literacy mandate. And then, secondly, we're opening branch offices across the country so we can do more in person locally. So, that's mandate number one. Also, through the grant, we provide free shelf corps. And think of this, think of if you were in the real estate industry and you were helping someone with housing, and if they wanted to build a new house, they would need a piece of land to put the house on, and then they would need to erect the structure, or if it's modular, move the structure in. Well, when we're talking about businesses and getting business funding, we need that piece of land. We need the foundational element, and that's where the shelf corp comes in. Because regardless if we want a big house or a little house, a single story or a two-story, basement, no basement, pool, no pool, we need some land to put our house, to put our building on. Well, regardless of what type of funding, business funding we want to pursue, we need to start with a fundable business structure. And we can always work with clients with their current businesses, but what we've learned through the years of doing this is it's frankly easier, faster, cheaper to give someone a shelf corp and do the funding off of it rather than having to go through the fact finding and often cleanup of using their current business. So there is a processing fee. So when we say the shelf corp is free, we need to understand what that means. We have distribution partners, and our distribution partners can charge a processing fee, which makes sense. They're educating and facilitating that. So it used to be that clients paid $10,000 for the shelf corp. Now the grant covers all 10,000 of that. However, there is a processing fee. The amount of the processing fee is determined by the distribution partner, the reseller, or branch office. So that's mandate number two. And then ultimately, the goal is to push money out into the communities, out into the hands of the entrepreneurs so they can start and grow businesses and create jobs, improve the tax base in their community. And so what we want to do is leverage the knowledge, leverage the free shelf corps, and then help participants get money to start or grow a business. The minimum of 100,000 is because the way the grant is written, but it's not a maximum. Some people say, oh, up to 100,000. Well, that's not what it says. That's not what I'm saying. We have to do a minimum of 100,000. And that's a bit of a disadvantage, right? Because you could have someone that says, well, no, I only need 50,000. Then they're not eligible for the grant. It doesn't meet the criteria that we're being held accountable to. So it can be more, can't be less. Sometimes they'll ask you, well, I already have a business. Well, I've already discussed why using one of our shelf corps is better than doing the capital raise off their current business, but we can use the shelf corp to do the capital raise, and then they could transfer those funds over to their existing, their legacy business. So it doesn't mean they can't own other businesses. Doesn't mean that we can't use the Shelf Corp as the capital raise vehicle, but certainly they can legally and ethically move money from company A to company B. And we can help them do that if they need help. But it can be a loan from company one to company two. It can be an investment. It can be an acquisition. It can be a service arrangement. It's not a problem. Just accounting is all that is. So what we normally do is have an agenda, and there's some overlap from day to day, but today's agenda is we want to make sure that we're knowledgeable of the available resources on the website, which is pretty straightforward, right? So we have 509pacific.org. Quick Cash is at the top. If you're not familiar with it, we've had prior trainings on it. Most of our prior trainings are up on YouTube. And with Quick Cash, there is a training video that we strongly encourage people to view first to understand it. And then if they want to participate, they can. In the middle of the page has to do with the grant and the business funding. So that's this section here. There's now 2 trainings that are posted that we ask people to consider watching before they enroll. One is understanding how the process works. And then we're having so much momentum, so much success with the ABL, asset-based lending. We've added that second training here. And then if they want to participate, they can. So you can see it's very transparent. What we want to do is make available these resources. We want them to have an understanding of how it works, and then provide them transparently access to enroll, whether it be Quick Cash and or as a participant in the grant for funding. And then at the bottom of the page has to do with being a distribution partner. We have resellers, and then we have branch offices. Our greatest focus going forward is going to be on the branch offices, which isn't really our topic today. There's several trainings, 5 trainings and resources we ask people to view, and then they can fill out this form to let us know which do they want. Do they want to run a branch office, or do they want to be a reseller? All right, so that's pretty straightforward, not significant changes there from what had been, but we have added the Quick Cash training on the website. We did add the ABL training under this section, and we also added it here. This is the same ABL training. All right, so as we go through, if there's any questions, comments, concerns, let me know, and we'll address them. All right, I want to spend a little bit of time today in more detail on the OBD, the Outsourced Business Development Program. So we've already talked about our mandates of helping small business owners. And the way that we do that is through distribution partners, like many of you, who want to, frankly, get paid to help other people, because most of us need to do something to get paid. And this is something that someone can do full or part-time. It's not MLM, it's not network marketing. There's no cost to be a reseller. But the bottom line is it's an opportunity to earn income by helping us do more of 1, 2, and 3. Well, with that being said, we're on number 2 on the agenda here. With that being said, the issue is that you, as the distribution partner, are primarily responsible for creating awareness and educating, because that's kind of what you do. We handle all the implementation. Again, it's not a franchise where we teach you how to make pizzas and then you go sell and make pizzas. Instead, you're going out and educating, if you wish to, giving away the Shelf Corp, setting whatever processing fee you want, and then we handle the implementation. It's a great deal. But with that being said, we have close to 1,000 distribution partners, not quite 1,000, but I think we're above 900 now. And frankly, some of them are knocking it, out of the park, incredible numbers. But there's others that don't. And so we wanted to try to balance the field some. So what we launched, I guess around a month ago, I don't really remember the date, was the Outsourced Business Development Program. So what we did is we studied what some of our top producers are doing and said, hey, the rest of you, if you want us to do that for you, we'll do it for free. Now, again, there's an asterisk behind free because it's based around doing online ads. So what we said to everyone is you'll pay for your ad spend, 2 words, ad, AD, spend, second word. So you need to pay for your ad spend, but we'll do all the work for free. Let's try it for a month and let's see how it works for you, because it's worked for several of our top producers. Well, here are some success stories. And so we're going to talk about these briefly, but I want you to understand how the OBD has evolved a bit so we do have aligned expectations. But let's go through the success stories, and then we'll go through some of the important specifics. So all of these are real. Many of these folks are on our trainings right now. But Mr. Hollins is a real distribution partner. So the way that we set up the OBD, everyone paid $1,000 ad spend. Now, as soon as I say that, there's like Drake. Let's see if Drake's on. Drake's in 2000. Yeah, Drake's on. Drake's in 2000. So some of you did send more than 1,000, but in general, it was designed to put $1,000 into ads. Now, one of the things that I said originally wasn't the right thing. What I said is, hey, send in 1,000. We'll invest 100% of that into ad spend. That is true and accurate. But I'm a bit of a novice in this online marketing space. And what I had led you to believe is that you send in 1,000 and we're going to spread that across 30 days. So in other words, we'd have around $30 a day. And then we would get optimal results. That's not the way it works. So I told you wrong. So the $1,000 is more than enough. That's a fine amount. But we want to consolidate that down into a short time period, normally 2 days. The reason is this, and again, I didn't know what I didn't know originally. The more the ad spend per day, the higher the ranking that Google or Meta or Instagram gives you. So we get much better results if we compress that same 1,000 over a 2-day spend, 500 a day for 2 days, than taking that same 1,000 and stretching it over a month. So some of you thought, because I alluded to it, hey, that $1,000 will run for a month. We're not doing that, and you wouldn't want us to do that now that we're all on the same page. We spread it across 2 days. So that's been the case, and all of these results that I'm showing you here are true numbers from the same amount of ad spend, and everyone's getting 2 days. Now, you might say, well, no, I want 30 days. Well, 30 days at 500 a day is going to be 15,000, right? I don't think you need to do that. When you look at the amount of numbers, 1,000's more than enough. We don't need to spend more. Now, certainly, the more you spend, the more results you'll have, but 1,000 has worked fine. So Mr. Hollins received 183 hot leads. Now, I want to defend that and talk about that. So when our team develops, and I'm not on that team, I don't have the competency, but when our team develops the ads and places the ads, it's meant to generate a response, and then there's a follow-up sequence that they go through, which I'll describe in a moment. But these are the responses to the ads whereby the respondee provided their information. So it wasn't like clicks, someone clicked on it, we're trying to get credit. No, because a click doesn't give you anything to follow up. So in his 2-day ad spend of 1,000, Mr. Hollins got 183. Now, as we go through these, let's go to the second one and I'll make that point. Mr. Casper, same amount, $1,000 ad spend, 2 days, he got 69. Now, what I don't want you to do is look at Mr. Casper and say, well, he got shafted. He got essentially a third of what Mr. Hollins did, which happens to be true mathematically, but that's still incredibly good. Now, what's the difference? Did we treat Mr. Hollins differently than Mr. Casper? No, there's just going to be some randomness when you're advertising. But advertising is all about getting a positive ROI. And so, frankly, if we could help any of our distribution partners get one new client that goes through the process, they're better than break even. So 69 is what Casper got. Holland's got 183. Hernandez got 99 hot leads, so kind of between the two of Hollins and Casper, and he had 76 enrollments. That's great. So we have leads, which means they entered the sales funnel, which means now we have their information and we can follow up with them. And over time, more and more will close. But when we talk about the enrollment numbers, these are the people that signed the contract. But I'm going to talk about the contract here in a minute when we get into more specifics. So incredible numbers, same ad spend, same ads. Mr. Smith had 50 enrollments, not leads, enrollments. The very first client or distribution partner we ran through was Mr. St. Pierre. I suspect he's probably on right now. Let me check. Yep, he's on right now. And so with that, he was the first one, not that ever went through the process, because our top producers have been using this process, but he's the first one who went through OBD, 42 hot leads and 32 enrollments. So great results. But let's dig in to more specifics. So we know that the ads are going to run for 2 days, not 30 days, because of the reasons I've stated. Also, what we've learned is we don't want to run two people's ads on the same days, because now they're kind of cannibalizing, because there's only so many people, and there's a lot of people, but there's only so many people out on the web looking for business funding. So we're not going to compete against each other. So on that 2-day period, we're only going to run ads for one partner. And then on the third day, for example, then that ad is stopped and we're working the next partner. So there's only so many days in the month. Let's just say there's approximately 30 days in the month. So we can only fit in 15 OBD participants per month. So some of you have already ran, like Mr. St. Pierre. Some of you are on the schedule, but haven't ran yet. But that's because we're going to do what's best for you and best for us, and we're not going to cannibalize. So we're not going to run multiple people's ads the same day, because it logically would reduce your ROI. So with that being said, ad spend spread over 2 days. Our team, which I'm not on, has developed a schedule. Once the $1,000 has come in, you should have been notified of when you're scheduled. Might have been right away, might be pushed out a little bit because there's only so many days in the month. And then once your 2-day window runs, then they're sending you a report, very transparent. So you'll get a list of all the hot leads. Now, if you want to work those hot leads, you could, and you probably should. However, our sales team will take those hot leads, invite them into a Zoom, not these morning Zooms that we're doing, but a different set of Zooms specifically for this target audience. So our team will conduct the Zoom, follow up, do one-on-one, and then get them engaged. Now, what I've learned about how they're doing this is also, there's another variance that I've learned of how they're doing this, which is different than what I referenced before. So let's make a few notes just for complete transparency. So what are some of the logistical aspects? So number one, it's a 2-day ad run. So it's still the 1,000, spending all the 1,000, not losing anything, but it's spread over 2 days. We've covered that. We don't cannibalize. Is that right? So in other words, it must not be right. So we're not going to run more than one person's ads at a time. Therefore, that may make some of you pushed out a little bit. Some of you aren't scheduled till September. We don't play favorites. So whenever your 1,000 came in, plop, you went on the schedule. So there are some of you that aren't scheduled till September just because there's only so many days in the month. Now, what I've learned, and I didn't really understand this before, and again, we're replicating what some of our top producers have done. So it's not that we're figuring this out as we go, but the truth is I'm not an expert in that. So I guess I'm learning how it works. So from the ads, when we're talking about the conversions, the enrollments, let me put in enrollment equals access to capital. And I'm blowing your mind now. It's like, holy shit, what is that? I thought we were selling shelf corps. So let's step back a bit. As many of you know, we have a two-phase process. Phase one is getting the shelf corp. Phase two, then, and we need about 7 days to fulfill the shelf corp deliverables, and then we go into the funding phase, which is the access to capital. So you should be familiar with both of these contracts. There's two different contracts that clients sign if they go through the full process. One of which is to buy a shelf corp from you. You determine the processing fee. You determine how much you make. We deliver the shelf corp in about 7 days because it takes that time to fulfill. And then we immediately go into phase two, the funding phase. So there's two different contracts. So let's make that clear. So this is contract one with the client. This is contract two. Now, if you're not using OBD and we're doing this the normal way, you're normally responsible for this contract. And then we normally do this. So I think most of you are familiar with the Shelf Corp agreement as it is. We provide you an editable version. You can change it as you want. If you want to see what the content is, it's right here, this grant packet. So when they're going back to the OBD, what they're doing first, they're reversing the order just because it works best for them, and I'm not going to question success. So what they do is when they're marketing the Shelf Corp, but they're reversing these two. So they're starting with the access to capital agreement. The access to capital agreement has no upfront cost. So it's where we're promising to help them raise a minimum of 100,000, which we made reference here, work with them as technical advisors. So we've always had that, but from what most of you are familiar with, that's the second phase once they've had the Shelf Corp. Well, what our marketing team has proven to be the case when they're doing online ads, they sign the client up first for phase two, then interview them, determine, do you have a fundable business? They typically don't. And then they come back and pick this up secondly. So anytime you see where I said Mr. Hernandez had 76 enrollments, Mr. Smith had 50, Mr. St. Pierre had 32, those are actual, but those are actually enrollments in the second phase, because through that ad campaign, they found that they reversed the order. So with that being said, we're going to tighten up who we're going to offer the OBD going forward. It's going to only be available for the branch office. Now, if you've already paid, you're fine. We're not taking anything away from you. But from this point forward, only branch offices will be able to participate. The reason for that is demand is exceeding supply. Because, I mean, you'd be a fool to not do this. The ROI numbers are so good, you'd be a fool not to do this. But there's only 31 days in a month. So with that being said, we're going to provide this free with the branch office, but it's not going to be available to resellers anymore. So once the 1,000 had been received, they put you on the schedule. To my knowledge, they've sent out a schedule to everyone. If you don't know where you're at on the schedule and you've paid and you're not happy about that, then text us. This is a text support line. Text us and we'll follow up with you. Chances are you might have just overlooked the email that came out from the implementation team. But they have everyone scheduled, and then once that scheduling window occurs, then the ads run, and then afterwards they send you the reports, and the reports are going to have the leads that come from it. Going back to that point. So then if you want to follow up with those leads as well, you can. Kind of makes sense too. We were discussing that a few minutes ago. Or you can be hands off. But even if you're hands off, then our team's going to try to drive them into the appropriate Zoom, then to the one-on-ones, and then close them on the Shelf Corp. So I do encourage you all to be very familiar with the difference between these two agreements, these two different steps, these two different phases in the process. So hopefully that helps the OBD. Drake's asking a question since he sent in 2,000, and a couple of you did send in 2,000. Will he get 4 days, or are they going to increase the ad spend to 1,000 a day? I'm not sure of that. They'll certainly spend all the ad spend, so you'll see twice or better the results. But I don't know, Drake. I'll have to find that out. That's a good question. Debbie asked, so are you saying I owe more money? I have no idea why you would interpret that, Debbie. No idea. I think there's a disconnect somewhere. So again, and Tram saying he doesn't know when he's scheduled. So yeah, so if anyone has specific questions and you're already in the OBD, text and we'll get that resolved. To the best of my knowledge, they've sent out notice of when everyone's scheduled. What I need to avoid is me and my team from getting too bogged down with this. Of course, you deserve to get what you expect, but there's a team that's handling that. So I don't want to be the monkey in the middle and keep us from being able to do the things that we're doing. And again, we didn't mark up at all. So every dollar that you all are spending is going into the ad spend. There's no admin cost for us. So we'll definitely do what we promised to do. It's working even better than expected, but there were some logistical aspects that I don't know that I clarified up front. I don't think it would give anyone buyer's remorse. As long as you're making money and a positive ROI, I think everyone's going to be fine. But now we know the rest of the story. Going forward, if you want a branch office, you'd come over to 509pacific.org. You'd fill out this form and check this box, and then we'll send you a text with a link for the branch office agreement. And with the branch office agreement, then you'll tell us the county and the state that you want to have your branch office in. As long as that's available, then we'll go ahead and send you $1,000 invoice. The cost of the branch office is $10,000. If you don't think it's worth it, then don't do it. Doesn't matter to me, but it's $10,000 for a 1-year license agreement. Pay $1,000 down. We'll put that $1,000 immediately towards OBD, and then we'll help you get financing for the remaining $9,000. All right, so I don't want to spend all of our time on that, but hopefully that was helpful. Asset-based lending, we've had a couple trainings on that, and the most recent one was a pretty good synopsis. And again, you'll find it on 509pacific.org. You'll see it here. And if you're an entrepreneur looking for funding, I strongly encourage you to understand this strategy. It's also here. And if you're a distribution partner, I strongly encourage you to really understand how it works. It's a really big deal. It doesn't change our offering, right? So we still need to go educate people. They still need that piece of land to put their house on, the analogy we used earlier. They're still going to get the free Shelf Corp. But instead of, or in addition to an SBA loan or normal business loans, most people are, the vast majority are pursuing ABL. Quicker, easier, larger capital raise. But my job today isn't to restate all of the benefits, just to make sure you know where to get good training on that. But it starts the same. So it's like, oh, well, how do I sell ABL? Well, technically you don't sell ABL, right? You educate people however you wish. You get them into one of the free Shelf Corps. They sign your contract. They pay the processing fee that you state. We handle implementation. We'll help each client identify the right source or sources of capital based upon their wants, needs, and mitigating circumstances. I'm just forewarning you, a lot of people really, really like the ABO. All right. I see. Let's see, go through here. We got a lot of questions and maybe a few more questions than we have time. Michael asked, why didn't we have Zooms this past week? So I'll go ahead and give you the drama. So we had our last Zoom a week ago today, and everything was fine. And actually, I think that's when we recorded this most recent ABL training. So a week ago today. So all's fine. We've been moving into the new office, which finally I'm in now. I wasn't in a week ago. But last Monday evening, I was here and we were in the process of getting my office set up. Wasn't feeling real well, but still functioning. Went home, started feeling worse. Got to about, laid down to go to bed around 10 p.m. local time. Woke up at 11, felt horrible, didn't want to bother my family, tried to stick with it, but just realized I've got to have someone call 911. I'm dying. But not literally, but felt like I was dying. So they called the ambulance. Ambulance comes out. They immediately hook me up to IV, start pumping fentanyl in me, trying to control the pain. They take me to the local hospital, go into the ER. They do the testing and diagnostics and realize we're in trouble, trying to determine if they're going to transfer me, airlift me to a bigger hospital, or keep me there. In the ER all the way to like 6 or 7 a.m. Finally, they decide to admit me there. They take me in, get to the med surge department, and then, in the ER, they intubate me. So that's why my throat's a little gravelly. And that's why we didn't do the Zoom. I actually came back into the office late last week, but it's hard to talk after you've been intubated for a while. So then, it got pretty serious. And then, again, they were always vacillating between if they're going to transfer me to a higher level hospital. Got to the point, it was about a meltdown, started talking about hospice and end of life. And so it got very ugly last week. They expected me to be in the hospital at least a week. So that's why we canceled the Zooms out. But fortunately, things turned around. Got discharged from the hospital Wednesday around 5 p.m., but just was in no shape to talk on the phone or do these Zooms. But we're back full steam ahead now, and all is well. So thanks for everyone's well wishes. Sorry for any interruption. We're largely on track now. We've got all the client agreements processed. Everyone that has purchased a Shelf Corp or got a free Shelf Corp. We've got everyone caught up on that. Don't want to say that we're completely caught up on emails, but as far as client processing, I believe by working over the weekend, we're good. So thanks for concerns there. All right. So with that being said, we should be back to a normal schedule. Should be doing Zooms on a daily basis. We'll have some more exciting announcements. Our training facility should be done within the next 30 days. So that will allow us, for those of you that want to come in and have your branch office training here with us, you'll be able to do that. And all is going very, very well. So from your perspective, if you're a distribution partner, I'm not here to pitch the OBD, because essentially we're closing enrollments for the OBD. Those of you that have submitted payment will fulfill what we promised. I'm sure you'll be very, very happy. Going forward, we're going to reserve the OBD for our branch offices. Now, you might say, well, that sounds kind of contradictory, because the concept of the branch office is to do local relationships. Why would the online ads be so important? Well, what we want to do is once someone says, hey, they want a branch office, what we're going to do is run the OBD for them right away, flush in a lot of money so they have really strong liquidity and the ability to then develop their local market. Because it takes more time and effort to develop local relationships than it does for our team to just run an ad and get anywhere from 42 to 50 to 69 to 99 or 183 hot leads. So with the $1,000 down on the branch office, if that's what you want to do, I'm not pitching it for you to you, but if you want to do that, it's $1,000 to hold it. They'll finance the other 9,000, but that 1,000 they'll put all in to ads and run your ads for you. As far as our website, we're on 509 Pacific, no change there. Tech support line is the best way. Now, if you call this number, you're going to be very disappointed. That's why it's called a text support line. You want to text this number as best bet. If you want to call and talk to someone, then you would call the phone number, 903-352-3390. This is a real number that's answered live. However, we might have more calls coming in than we have people to answer the phone. And if you get dropped into voicemail, I'd recommend leaving a voicemail. It's kind of weird in today's society. A lot of people, they don't leave a voicemail and then they get all frustrated. Well, I've tried to reach you several times. Well, did you leave a message? No. Well, that's probably a mistake, right? So if you're going to call and we don't answer, which I know we should, we'll try to, but if not, leave a message. But primarily, we can't handle, with 900 of you, we can't handle, we'd have to hire a whole slew of people. We can't have, so as a nonprofit, just so you know, I don't get paid. Madison, many of you know, that is our funding coordinator. All of us volunteer at the nonprofit. I don't get paid a penny for volunteering. Madison doesn't get paid a penny. So when you're working with nonprofits, it's nice because people get things either free or reduced, like the food line at the local church, right? Well, if times are tough, you can go through Wednesday afternoon and get some canned food, but you can't really be so specific or argumentative. Hey, I wanted the corn, not the peas, right? So with the nonprofit, we need to do a good job and comply with our agreements, of course, but this is largely volunteer staffed. And so we'll do the best we can and we're committed. So we'll do what we promise to do. But just keep in mind, if you all want Nordstrom type of service, we're going to have to change the pricing to be able to pay staff. This is a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization. And I think we're doing a hell of a job. All right, with that being said, if there's any other specific questions or concerns, recommend texting us on the support line. If you're looking for quick cash, here it is. Understand it, then enroll. If you're looking for business funding, understand it by watching the 2 videos and then enroll. If you want to make money helping other people, then get educated. And then you don't really enroll, you fill out this form with whatever the appropriate checkbox is. So I see Sarah's asking, are we having more resellers? Sure, yeah, we're not closing the reseller role. I didn't mean to say that. I just meant to say that the OBD is the outsourced business development. The ads are going to be specifically for the branches. But no, you're welcome to become a reseller. It didn't cost you a penny. No contract to sign. No one's taking anything away from you as a reseller. All right, well, we covered a lot of ground. I'm 8 minutes over. I apologize. Sorry for having a gravelly voice. Still recovering from that. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, and have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.